Look at all of the glorious dust that this keyboard is collecting. This is how you know it's a classic Razer BlackWidow. I'm Rio Gion, and this is Rio Gion Keyboards. The front is unmistakably a Razer product with its very gamer font and feel and look, and that sweet glossy finish, collecting as much dirt as it possibly can. It will never be clean, no matter how many times you do it. The next minute, it's collecting dust again. But this is a love it or hate it situation. Some love it. When they clean it, it looks super fantastic. It looks so slick if it's clean. And then the next 5 minutes, it's not clean anymore. Nevertheless, you have a non-standard bottom row, and every other layout is good. There's no cardinal sin besides that non-standard bottom row, and for the most part, once again, it is through and through a Razer product. This is a very typical Razer back with feet with rubber on them, and I guess you can say this is the OG Razer BlackWidow, so it's the start of it all. All the other Razer boards beyond this particular point will look pretty much the same, with the feet with rubber, smaller rubber pads. And what is interesting is that the cable is braided, but it's very thin without the USB pass-through and the headphone jack. The cable is actually quite thin, and might I add, very fragile as well. Without the backlighting, the keycap actually has this sort of sand texture to it. It feels very similar to that of the DOS keyboard, and that could either be good or bad. In this particular case, I do like this kind of texture more than the smooth texture with the Razer boards with backlighting. And of course, I believe this is also the typical ABS, where it's just thin plastic and it will wear out over time. In fact, the key prints are wearing out already, and it hasn't really been that long too. I noticed that there are some inconsistency with the Cherry MX Blue on this particular board. I don't know if it's the same thing with every other classic BlackWidows, but the U key just slides right down. There's no tactical bump. The sound is still there, but the way how the key is being pressed, the U key and the semicolon key just slide right down. It's linear, and that's what I noticed for my particular unit. But besides that, the Cherry MX Blue here is actually in great full effect. It feels very nice and comfortable to type, and it does typing really well, even though it's a gaming keyboard, even though they opt for Cherry MX Blue for a gaming keyboard. But then again, this is back in a time where mechanical keyboards are not super popular like it is now, so I guess we can kind of overlook this. But then again, I don't know, gaming keyboard, Cherry MX Blue, it doesn't seem to make too much sense in my book. Since there's no backlighting and the keyboard actually has macroable functions within the board itself, you technically would not need the software, but the software does exist, and that is a nice touch. Although once again, for those of you that do not want the software, you can completely just not download it and the keyboard would work just fine, which is pretty freaking awesome. So with the software, it's a very user-friendly software. It's a very well-known software, and one thing that I did notice about it is that you can only store up to 20 different types of profiles. With that, you can also change the lighting of the little snake icon, and you can either have it light up really bright or go into pulsate mode. Besides that, every single keys are macroable, hence that bank of macro keys, which is fantastic. And then finally, you also have that heat mapping feature that I personally do not find useful, but hey, at least it's there, right? Having the bank of macro keys and each key being macroable and programmable really helps the keyboard earn its gaming credentials. Along with that, we can go ahead and count Windows Disable as well. Sure, why not? I'll count that. But I say it's more of a typing keyboard than a gaming keyboard. It's a typing keyboard with some gaming features, because I always believe that gaming boards are red switches or black switches. Some kind of linear switch where you either want to tap really fast or you don't want to make too many mistakes. So that's either red or black. Blue and brown is really in between, especially for brown. Brown is just like the jack of all trades, the master of none. Blue is always typing. For me, blue has always been the typing switch, the go-to switch for typing. And when Razer opt for Cherry MX Blues, I really think it's more of a typing board than a gaming board. Then again, that's just my little 2 cents. Overall, I have to say, the board is quite nice. I don't know how much is it going for now retail, but if you're spending upwards of, let's say, beyond $60, look elsewhere. There are probably better deals for it. But if you're spending somewhere between the midst of, I say, $40 to $50, that's actually not a bad place to spend it on. And in terms of actually buying it new, maybe the official website has it. I'll try to find one on Amazon if I possibly can. If I do, there's a link down below. If not, then there's always Craigslist or eBay when you want to look for used keyboards. And I say if you were going to go buy it at around $45. That should be the sweet spot to buy this particular board for.